When people looked at our life from the outside, they saw perfection. A quiet home in the suburbs of Atlanta, a loving marriage that had survived storms most couples never speak of. 7 years together, bound by college memories, shared dreams, and promises whispered under starlit skies. If only they knew how easily a perfect picture can hide a cracked frame. My name is Amelia Carter, and for a long time I truly believed I was living the life I had always wanted. My husband Daniel had once been the man who held my shaking hands as I cried in hospital hallways, the man who whispered, "Well, try again. Well, get our family someday." 2 miscarriages had carved wounds into places I didn't know existed, but I clung to our marriage like a lifeline, and tonight, our 7th wedding anniversary, I wanted everything to feel hopeful again. I spent the entire day preparing. Daniel's favorite dinner, herb-crusted rack of lamb, roasted potatoes, asparagus with lemon butter, candles everywhere, casting warm light across the dining room like soft gold dust. I wore the emerald dress he always said made my eyes glow. Even the music was chosen, carefully soft, romantic, the kind of soundtrack meant to mend something fragile. As I moved around the kitchen, adjusting the candles, checking the oven, straightening the napkins for the 5th time, I told myself tonight would be a new beginning. Tonight, we would feel like us again. But the truth was already sitting in that room with me. Hidden. Waiting, because perfection is often just the calm before a storm you never saw coming. The moment that shattered my world didn't come with thunder, lightning, or some dramatic movie-style revelation. It arrived quietly on the kitchen counter, wrapped in a glowing notification bar and a vibration that wouldn't stop. Daniel was upstairs in the shower when it happened. I remember it clearly because I had just finished opening the bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon we'd been saving for a special night. Our 7th anniversary, surely that qualified. The phone buzzed once. Then again. Each vibration growing sharper, more insistent, like a tapping finger on my spine. At first I didn't look. Why would I? I wasn't the wife who snooped. I'd always taken pride in that trusting, understanding, mature. Exactly the traits Daniel said he loved about me. But that buzzing, it wouldn't stop. By the 5th vibration, something cold unfurled inside my chest, an instinct older than reason, a whisper I tried to ignore. "Check it, Amelia." I turned toward the counter. Daniel's phone lay there, screen up, glowing in the dim light. And the name I saw hit me harder than any betrayal could have. S.C. Sienna Caldwell. A name I hadn't heard in years. A name Daniel had once spoken with a forced casualness that I had been too naive to question. And beneath the initials, the preview of a message. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend. When can I see you again?" My breath stilled. Time cracked. I told myself there had to be another explanation. A misunderstanding, context. Anything but the obvious truth screaming inches from my hand. Then the phone vibrated again. This time the preview was worse. "Have you told her yet?" Something inside me broke with a quiet, almost polite snap. Daniel's phone lay there, screen up, glowing in the dim light, and the name I saw hit me harder than any betrayal could have. Sienna Caldwell, a name I hadn't heard in years. A name Daniel had once spoken with a forced casualness that I had been too naive to question. And beneath the initials, the preview of a message. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend. When can I see you again?" My breath stilled. Time cracked. I told myself there had to be another explanation. A misunderstanding. Context. Anything but the obvious truth, screaming inches from my hand. Then the phone vibrated again. This time the preview was worse. "Have you told her yet?" Something inside me broke, with a quiet, almost polite snap. Each message carved into my chest like a blade. I gripped the counter to steady myself, but the room tilted anyway. The candles I'd lit for our anniversary flickered mockingly. The scent of rosemary and garlic from the oven suddenly curdled in my throat. I kept scrolling. 6 months of messages. 6 months of late-night work emergencies. 6 months of plans for a future that did not include me. 6 months of my husband lying in our bed while texting another woman goodnight. My vision blurred as I reached a photo. I tapped it before my brain registered what it was. Sienna, lying on white hotel sheets wearing almost nothing. A smirk on her lips. Her message beneath it. "Waiting for you?" My hands trembled so violently I nearly dropped the phone. But the worst was still ahead. Another image loaded. A selfie of the two of them, smiling in a dim restaurant. I recognized the decor instantly. The Beltline Bistro, downtown. I had suggested it for our anniversary. Daniel had said he was tired of the place. The timestamp? 1 week ago. 1 week. I felt something inside me collapse, not loudly, not dramatically, but with a quiet, devastating certainty. The shower upstairs turned off. His humming started soft, carefree, familiar. The same humming he did when he felt relaxed, content, loved. I placed the phone exactly where it had been. The screen dimmed. The kitchen grew unbearably still. My heart should have been racing, but it wasn't. I felt nothing. Nothing but a sudden and terrifying clarity. By the time Daniel walked into the kitchen with a towel around his waist, water dripping down his shoulders, I was composed enough to play the role I needed to play. He leaned forward and kissed my cheek. "That smells amazing," he said with that bright, boyish smile I used to melt for. "Happy anniversary, sweetheart." I smiled back. Somehow. Happy anniversary. We ate dinner. He drank wine and complimented the lamb. He gave me a necklace, a delicate gold chain with a small pendant, lovely, thoughtful, intimate. I wondered if Sienna had gotten something nicer. Then we went upstairs, and we made love. And I hated every second. Not just because he had touched her. Not just because he had whispered the same words to her only days before, but because he looked into my eyes with love so convincing, so real that for one horrifying moment, I almost believed him. Afterward, he fell asleep, easily, breathing deeply, peacefully. I lay awake beside him, staring at a ceiling that suddenly felt like it was falling toward me. And in that moment, I realized something important. I could not break. Not yet. So I inhaled slowly, and with a steadiness I didn't recognize as my own, I told myself, "You will not scream. You will not confront him. Not tonight. Not until you know everything." Because betrayal isn't just pain, it's strategy, it's information, it's power if you can hold yourself still long enough to gather it. That night, I held still. I memorized the lies. I memorized the dates. I memorized the shape of the knife he had put in my back, and I began to plan. Before dawn, I slipped quietly out of the bed we had shared for 7 years. I sat in the kitchen, the same kitchen where my world had ended hours earlier, and opened my laptop. I created a new email account, a hidden one. I began forwarding screenshots of every message ID taken, every photo, every hotel receipt I could find in our shared banking app, every timestamp, every piece of Daniel Carter's betrayal. By sunrise, I had become someone new, someone I did not yet understand. Not a broken wife, not a grieving woman, but something colder, sharper. A woman who would destroy her husband's lies with the same precision he used to craft them. The storm had begun, and I would not be the one drowning in it. There is a moment, after your heart shatters, when the pain becomes too large to feel all at once, it turns into something colder, cleaner, sharper. That was the version of myself who woke up the morning after our anniversary. Daniel rolled over in bed, brushed a kiss against my shoulder, and murmured, "Last night was perfect." I swallowed the laugh bubbling up inside me, dark, humorless, bitter, perfect. What an interesting word. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him further, and I stood in our bathroom, staring at my own reflection. I didn't look like a woman who'd found her husband's betrayal the night before. If anything, I looked peaceful, almost serene. But behind my eyes, there was something else. Calculation, clarity, resolve. I brushed my hair, tied it back neatly, and stepped into the kitchen to make coffee the way Daniel liked 2 sugars, splash of cream. The same way I had made it for 7 years. He came downstairs humming, the same carefree tune he always had when the world felt soft beneath his feet. He kissed my cheek again. "You're amazing," he said. "Last night, everything about it reminded me why I fell in love with you." I smiled sweetly. My poker face had never been better. Inside I whispered, "And I'm going to show you exactly who you married." Over the next days, I transformed into something I never expected to become, a ghost in my own life and a spy in his. Daniel had no idea. Every morning, I packed his lunch. Every night, I asked about work. Every evening, I cooked dinner and listened to him describe his day with that calm, reassuring smile he thought belonged to his loving wife. He didn't know I recorded the times he left home. He didn't know I saved bank statements listing hotel charges at places miles from his office. He didn't know I logged the exact minutes his phone went silent, those convenient dead zones where he was surely in someone else's arms. He also didn't know that every text message he sent or received, I saw. Because on the second night, while he slept, I used his thumb to unlock his phone and set up forwarding to an encrypted mirror app. Every message to Sienna Caldwell sent straight to me. Every "I miss you," every "next week," every "shall understand eventually." And the part that gutted me? Sienna didn't speak like a woman in love. No, she spoke like a woman in control. "Daniel, she's fragile. You need to ease her into it. She's already suspicious. Don't slip. After Christmas, you'll be with me full time." She had the tone of a puppeteer. And my husband? A very willing puppet. On day 3, I bought a second phone. Unregistered, untraceable. A tool for what I needed next. On day 4, I rented a private P.O. box. On day 5, I requested every financial record for the past year from our bank joint accounts, Daniel's credit cards, everything. The clerk smiled, not knowing she was handing me the blueprint of my husband's double life. What I found? 3 hotel stays under Daniel's name, 2 expensive dinners at the Beltline Bistro, a bracelet from a high-end jeweler in Buckhead, $1,750, lift receipts to an apartment I didn't recognize, and every purchase was made using our shared funds. On day 6, I called Ethan Miles, the private investigator recommended by a friend. His voice was calm, weathered, professional. "Tell me what you need, Mrs. Carter." I took a breath. "I need to know where my husband goes. I need proof, and I need it done quietly." Ethan didn't ask why. Men like him never had to. The next morning, Ethan sent me a message. "Hez meeting her at a hotel on Paces Ferry Road tonight. I'll be there." By midnight, I had the photos. Daniel's hand on Sienna's waist, Sienna kissing him in the hotel parking garage, their silhouettes disappearing through the lobby doors. But Ethan found more. Much more. He texted, "There's one thing I need to tell you, and it's the reason this needs to stop." My heart jumped. He called, and with a quiet, heavy voice, Ethan said the words that would follow me forever. "Your husband was with another woman the day you miscarried the second time, June 15th. He sent the photo, 2:47 p.m. Daniel and Sienna checking into a Marriott hotel, while I was in a hospital bed, crying, bleeding, believing I lost everything. He was with her. The world didn't crack this time. It exploded. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. My knees buckled, and I slid to the kitchen floor. The same kitchen where Wed once dreamed of children laughing. The same kitchen where he kissed me goodbye that morning, saying, "Call me if you need anything." I'll find a way to step out of the meeting. The lies were so tight, so seamless, so well practiced, I almost admired the craftsmanship. Almost. Then the admiration turned to ice, and the ice turned to strategy. By the end of that week, every trace of the old Amelia Carter was dead. What remained was someone new, someone calculating, someone patient, someone willing to let Daniel dig his own grave. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Because confrontation is emotional. I didn't want emotional. I wanted evidence. I wanted leverage. I wanted the kind of truth that destroys reputations, not marriages. I wanted justice not from him, but from life itself. So I started planning like a woman who had been burned down to her bones, planning like a woman who had nothing left to lose, planning like a woman who knew the most devastating blow is the one delivered with a smile. If you're feeling the tension rising, if Amelia's journey is pulling you in, if you like this story so far, press number 1 inch the comments. If you don't like it, just hit the like button anyway to support the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach more wonderful listeners like you. Thank you for being here. There's something strange that happens when a person finally accepts betrayal. It's like a lens clicks into place, sharpening everything you thought you knew. Details that once seemed insignificant suddenly glow under a burning new light. That's what happened the morning I decided to dig deeper, not into Daniel, but into her, Sienna Caldwell, the woman who spoke to my husband in soft, manipulative coups. The woman who dangled promises and ultimatums. The woman he abandoned me for in his mind long before he ever touched her body. I wanted to understand her. Not because I envied her, but because understanding your enemy makes you more dangerous. I started with what anyone would start with: social media. Sienna's profiles were polished to perfection: soft pastels, affirmations, cozy coffee shop photos, pictures of therapy books beside candles and herbal tea. She branded herself as a relationship healer, a counselor who guides couples toward emotional honesty. The irony nearly made me choke. Scrolling further, I reached a post I had never seen before because her settings were friends only: a photo of a ring, platinum band, emerald cut diamond, easily 3 carats. The caption: "He finally asked. I can't believe I get to marry my best friend. Cheers to new beginnings." Hundreds of congratulatory comments. But there was something wrong with it. No mention of a name. No image of the fiancé, no tagged partner. Just my love, my future, my heart. It felt staged, curated, empty. Then I saw a comment that made my blood run cold. "Can't wait to meet him. Bring him to Sunday dinner." Naomi Caldwell. Someone's mother was expecting to meet a man. Someone's mother didn't know the man was already married. And someone's Sienna was juggling more than one future. My head spun. So she wasn't just destroying my marriage. She was living a double life, with 2 men, at the same time. And one of them had given her that ring. Not Daniel. Most therapists have online scheduling systems, modern, convenient, often sloppy with security. Sienna Caldwell was no exception. Her website had a book an appointment button leading to a private scheduling portal. Most patients only see available time slots. But I wasn't a patient. I was a woman fueled by betrayal and by an uncomfortable amount of intelligence left unused in my marriage. I answered her security reset questions. Mother's maiden name? Caldwell. First pet's name? Biscuit. Mentioned in an old college blog shed. Forgotten still existed. First job? Ice cream shop. Found on her, LinkedIn. I was in. My heart thudded as her full calendar loaded. Therapy sessions neatly blocked, lunch breaks, gym classes, and there highlighted in soft blue: November 15, 7 p.m. dinner with family, presenting fiancé. But the name beside it was not Daniel. It was Adrian Wells Owells at PiedmontPediatrics.org. Doctor, pediatric surgeon, Atlanta. My stomach twisted. Daniel wasn't the man she was planning to marry. My husband wasn't even close. He was a placeholder. A toy. A fallback. She had another life, a better one, a richer one. So why was she still with Daniel? I already knew the answer. Because she could have both. Until now. I stared at her fiancé's email address. Dr. Adrian Wells. Highly respected. Handsome, in a crisp, minimal LinkedIn photo. His hospital bio described him as dedicated, empathetic, beloved by patients. The kind of man who believed in kindness. The kind of man who believed what people told him. The kind of man Sienna could manipulate. Just like Daniel. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I typed, subject, a message you won't want to read but need to. Dear Dr. Wells, you don't know me, but I know you. More importantly, I know Sienna Caldwell, your fiancé. Before you delete this email, I want you to ask her something simple. Who is Daniel Carter? Ask her where she was on October 8, October 15, October 22. Ask her why she has 2 dinner plans for Christmas Eve. I am writing to you because you seem like a good man. Good men deserve the truth. If you want proof, reply to me. If not, I wish you luck. You'll need it. Sincerely, a friend. I hovered over send, breathing in, breathing out. Then I clicked. The email vanished like a bullet in the dark. 3 hours later, my phone lit up. From Adrian Wells, subject. A message you won't want to read. Who are you? How do you know Sienna? What proof do you have? My heart stuttered. I opened the burner cloud folder where I'd stored everything. Screenshots of Sienna's, messages, hotel check-ins, photos Ethan had taken, restaurant receipts, Daniel's pathetic I love you. I'll leave her soon. I uploaded select files enough to devastate, not enough to traumatize. I sent him a link with one line, "I'm sorry. You deserve better." Then I waited. The minutes ticked by like dripping ice water. Hours passed. Finally, just before midnight, she denied everything. She said, "You are an ex of hers trying to ruin her life." I want to believe her. But the photos, I don't know what to think. I typed slowly. "I am not her ex. I am Daniel Carter's wife." Yes, his wife. Still legally married. Still sharing a roof. Still sleeping beside him while he cheats with your fiancé. We are both victims of the same woman. If you want the truth to come out, if you want justice, if you want to stop her from deceiving you any further, meet me halfway. On Christmas Eve. At my home. They want to celebrate together? Let's give them a night they will never forget. Then I pressed send. My hands shook afterward, not from fear, but from momentum. I realized then that revenge isn't rage. Revenge is strategy. Revenge is intelligence sharpened by betrayal. Revenge is control. The next 4 days felt like balancing on the edge of a knife. If Adrian showed my email to Sienna, she could warn Daniel, they could cover their tracks, destroy the proof, flip the narrative. Everything could collapse. But on the 4th morning, while I rinsed my coffee mug under the kitchen faucet, my phone buzzed with a new message. From Adrian Wells, subject, "I'm in, count me in. Just tell me when and where." I exhaled for the first time in days. The alliance was formed, the stage was set, and Christmas Eve would be the night everything burned. December 24th arrived wrapped in cold air and brittle light, the kind of winter morning that felt thin, fragile, like something waiting to break. Just like Daniel. And just like the illusion of our marriage, I woke before sunrise, standing in the kitchen with a cup of coffee warming my hands, staring at the empty dining table I would later turn into a battlefield. The house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that feels like the breath before a scream. Tonight, it would all end. I worked through the morning with mechanical precision. The lamb marinated overnight, the honey-glazed ham resting on a tray, the potatoes peeled, soaking in cold water, the table set with the china my grandmother left me, silver-polished until it glowed like moonlight candles ready to be lit. Every detail was chosen with intention. A beautiful room makes the truth hit harder. I wanted Daniel to remember this table for the rest of his life. I wanted Sienna to choke on how perfect everything looked before her world collapsed. Around 10 a.m., my sister Clara arrived with her husband and 2 kids. Clara had always been sharper than me, instinctive like a wolf. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong, but she didn't push, not yet. "You sure you're okay?" she whispered while the kids ran upstairs. "I'm better than okay," I said, and the strange thing was I meant it. I hadn't felt this focused, this deliberate, this alive in years. Daniel came home just past noon, carrying shopping bags and humming, the same man who had destroyed me on our anniversary. He placed a small wrapped box under the tree. "For you," he said, kissing my forehead. I resisted the urge to recoil. If only he knew the gift waiting for him. He spent the afternoon charming Clara's kids, chatting with her husband, acting like the doting uncle and beloved brother-in-law. But when he caught me watching him, he smiled that easy, familiar smile. It made my stomach twist, not with love, but with disgust. He thought I believed him. He thought he still had control. He had no idea what was coming. The doorbell rang. Daniel hurried to answer it too eagerly, too brightly, and there she stood. Sienna Caldwell, wrapped in a cream wool coat, a bottle of wine in hand, and that pristine engagement ring sparkling on her finger. A bold, stupid move. She stepped inside with a polite smile. But the flicker of tension in her eyes? That was real. "Amelia," she said warmly, "thank you for welcoming me. Your home is beautiful." I smiled back just as warmly. "Welcome, Sienna. I'm so glad you could join us. Tonight is special." She froze for a fraction of a second. Oh, she sensed it, the shift in the air, the hum of danger. Clara watched her like a hawk. She always hated women who smiled too perfectly. Dinner was set for 9. The show would begin at 9:30. I texted Adrian the code to the side door 2 hours earlier. Everything was in motion. Everyone sat down. Daniel next to Sienna. Me directly across from them. Clara at my right. Eyes narrowed. her husband at my left, quietly noticing everything. We passed dishes, poured wine, made small talk. Daniel toasted. To family, to kindness, to opening our hearts this Christmas. Clara's eyes widened. "Oh, you have some nerve," she muttered under her breath. Sienna lifted her wineglass delicately. "To new beginnings," she said, staring directly at Daniel. "New beginnings with a married man." I cocked my head and smiled sweetly. "Yes, new beginnings are inevitable." Daniel's fork slipped. Sienna's smile tightened. I could feel their fear seeping through the cracks of their performance. It was delicious. Clara leaned toward Sienna. "So, you're a couples therapist?" she asked innocently. "I am," Sienna answered, smoothing her hair. "I help people rebuild trust, heal after betrayal." Clara choked on her drink. I placed a hand on her arm before she launched across the table. "That must be difficult work," I said casually. "Especially dealing with infidelity." The word hung in the room like smoke. Daniel sat very still. Sienna's smile stiffened. "Yes, well," she began, swallowing. "Infidelity can be complicated," I continued. "Sometimes people cheat because they want love, or because they're bored, or because they enjoy juggling more than one life at a time." I watched her pulse jump at her throat. She knew. She knew this was not an ordinary dinner. Daniel still believed I was talking generally, not specifically. He really had no imagination. I excused myself. "Let me get dessert." In the kitchen, I pulled out my phone, typed one word, "now." Then I walked back to the dining room, heart beating calmly, confidently, like I had rehearsed this moment every night. Because I had. Daniel looked up. "What's the surprise?" he asked. I smiled. "Oh, you'll see." Footsteps sounded in the hallway. Heavy. Male. Determined. Daniel frowned. Clara's husband stiffened. Sienna went still, her eyes widening in terror, and then Dr. Adrian Wells appeared in the doorway, tall, sharp jaw, heartbroken fury in every line of his face. He looked straight at Sienna. "Good evening, sweetheart," he said, voice calm and deadly. "I hope you saved me a seat." The room exploded in gasps. Daniel shot up from his chair. "What the hell is going on?" Sienna's hand began to shake. She knew the avalanche had begun, and she was buried. For a full second, no one breathed. Adrian's arrival cracked the air like lightning splintering a frozen lake. He stepped fully into the dining room, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded louder than a gunshot. Sienna's face drained to paper white. Daniel stared, stunned, like someone had switched the channel on his life without warning. I stayed seated, hands folded calmly on the tablecloth I had ironed that morning. Clara glanced at me with a dawning expression that could only be described as, "Oh, it's happening." Adrian's eyes flicked from Sienna to Daniel, to me. Then he spoke. "Well," he said, voice steady and controlled. "Shall we begin the truth-telling portion of the evening?" Sienna shot to her feet. "Adrian, why are you here? You can't just sit down." His tone was so precise, so sharp, it cut the room into obedience. She sat. Daniel looked at me like I had personally summoned a demon from the fireplace. "Amelia, what is this?" "Dinner," I said softly. "You asked for a bigger Christmas, more people, more love." I gestured gracefully. "I delivered." He stared. He didn't understand. Not yet. Adrian turned to Sienna, disgust simmering beneath the calm. 6 months, he said. 6 months of messages. 6 months of lies. 6 months of you telling me you loved me while you were busy, entertaining him. He pointed at Daniel like he was pointing at mold on a wall. Sienna's voice cracked. "It's not what you think." "Oh, stop," Adrian snapped. "I've seen the photos, the hotel receipts, the messages. Do you want me to read them out loud? Should I start with the part where you told him, and I quote, 'She doesn't satisfy you like I do'?" Clara inhaled sharply. Her husband muttered, "Jesus Christ." Daniel turned to Sienna, horrified. "You told him that?" Sienna flinched. "Daniel, please." But Adrian wasn't done. "And you," he spat, turning to Daniel, "you smug little fraud. You think you're some irresistible tragic hero? You're not even original. You're just another married man cheating on his wife because he's bored and spineless. Daniel's face flushed red, then pale. I didn't know she was engaged," he stammered. "She said she wasn't seeing anyone." "Of course she said that," Adrian replied smoothly. "Liars pick the easiest lies." Sienna buried her face in her hands. She was trembling now. I remained silent, watching, letting the walls close in on them, because this wasn't my explosion to deliver. This part belonged to the men they deceived. Only when the silence stretched too long did Daniel finally turn to me. "Amelia, how long have you known?" I took a deliberate sip of wine before answering. "Since October 15th, I said. "Our anniversary." He blinked rapidly. You knew? All this time? And you didn't say anything?" "No, Daniel," I said sweetly. "I said everything. Tonight." The weight of it hit him like a collapsing building. He was looking at me now, not angrily, not defensively, but with pure fear, because he finally understood. I wasn't confronting him, I was burying him. Clara stepped forward, furious. "You cheated on my sister, brought your mistress to Christmas Eve and expected us to smile and pass the gravy?" Daniel opened his mouth, but Clara wasn't done. "And you," she pointed at Sienna, who shrank back. "You sat at this table eating food my sister cooked while sleeping with her husband? What kind of woman are you?" Sienna whispered. "I'm sorry." But Clara laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught." The room simmered with outrage, betrayal, disgust, and emotional heat so thick it made the air shimmer. And I sat through it all, perfectly calm, because this storm wasn't touching me anymore. It was touching them. Daniel pressed his hands into his hair. "Amelia, please, let me explain. There's more to this, no?" I cut in. "There isn't." I stood up slowly, letting my napkin fall to the table. Every eye in the room followed me. "You cheated on me," I said. "You lied to me. You used my miscarriages to excuse your affair. You made me think I was paranoid, dramatic, unlovable." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Real ones? Or just well-timed? I didn't care. And while I was losing our baby, I continued, voice steady. "You were with her." His head snapped up. "Amelia, no, don't. Adrian has the photos," I said. He confirmed the timestamp. Daniel's chest heaved like head been punched. Clara covered her mouth. Her husband looked sick. Sienna began to cry. "And Adrian?" He closed his eyes, whispering, "God, you people disgust me." Daniel lunged toward me. "Amelia, please!" "We can fix this," I stepped back. "No, we cannot fix what you killed." Then I reached under the Christmas tree, lifted the wrapped box, and handed it to him. "Merry Christmas," I said. He opened it. The divorce papers spilled onto the floor like falling snow. Daniel made a choking sound. "Amelia, please, don't do this." "Oh, Daniel," I whispered. "I already did." Adrian turned to leave, pausing by the door. "For what it's worth," he said, looking at me, "you're stronger than both of them combined." Then he walked out without another word. Sienna grabbed her coat, sobbing, and followed her life disintegrating behind her like drifting ash. Daniel tried one last time, voice breaking. "I still love you." I looked at him for the last time. "No," I said quietly. "You love the version of me who didn't know who you really were." He didn't speak again. He just walked out. The door closed, and the house exhaled. Clara crossed the room and wrapped her arms around me. "You did it," she whispered. "You finally chose yourself. And for the first time in a year, I felt light. Not happy. Not yet. But free." If you like this story so far, press number 1 the comments. If you don't like it, just hit the like button anyway to support the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach more wonderful listeners like you. Thank you for being here. The days after Christmas moved strangely slow and heavy at first, then suddenly too fast, like time itself didn't know how to behave anymore. Daniel moved out the next morning. No dramatic pleading, no grand speeches, just a defeated silence as he packed his clothes into 2 suitcases, shoulders slumped, eyes hollow. He didn't look at me when he left. He didn't dare. The house felt unnervingly quiet after the door shut behind him, a quiet that was no longer painful, but revealing. It was the first morning in 7 years that I woke without Daniel's presence lingering in the air. My first thought was startlingly simple. I can breathe. I spent that day walking through the house with a trash bag in hand, not to throw away memories, but to reclaim them. The framed anniversary photo in the hallway? Gone. His books on the living room shelf? Boxed. The cologne he kept in the bathroom? Tossed. The ring box he hid in his closet? Opened, inspected, and thrown straight into the trash. With every item removed, the house grew lighter, brighter, less haunted. Clara arrived just before noon with her sleeves rolled up and the kind of fierce sister energy that could resurrect the dead. "Okay," she said, hands on her hips. "Do we want cathartic cleaning, or do we want full emotional exorcism?" I pointed at the closet. She grinned. "Exorcism it is." We spent hours pulling his things out, boxing them, labeling nothing, tossing more than we saved. Every so often Shed stop, hold something up, and mutter, "Men are trash." By the end of the day, the only things left in the house belonged to me. And for the first time, I realized that felt good. Dangerously good. He emailed me that night. Subject, "Please." It was long, emotional, full of excuses wrapped as explanations. I didn't read it. The next morning, another email. Subject, "Just hear me out." Then a third. Subject, "I'm so sorry. I'm begging you." Each one stayed unopened. By the time the fifth email came, his desperation had soured into self-pity. Subject, "You're being cruel. You owe me a response." That one I deleted without hesitation. I didn't owe him anything. Not anymore. A week later, my attorney, Vivian Porter, called. "He signed," she said, "has not contesting anything. House stays with you. Assets split as agreed. Clean break. No fight. No courtroom. No dragging battle. Just a quiet, final surrender." Vivian paused before adding, "You did everything right, Amelia. I hope you know that." I didn't answer immediately, but I felt it. Deep down, I did know. I expected to hear from Sienna eventually, some angry message, a blame-shifting tirade, something. But the only news came secondhand whispers from friends, gossip from coworkers. Her license? Under review. Her practice? Terminated. Her reputation? Falling apart like wet paper. Apparently, the ethics board moved quickly when the evidence was that thorough. Some said Shed left Atlanta. Others said she was living with her sister in Florida. Some said she was seeing a therapist herself now. I didn't care. Her story wasn't mine to follow anymore. Some villains don't need a dramatic ending. Sometimes disappearing is punishment enough. I started seeing Dr. Elena Rodriguez in mid-January. Not because I was falling apart, but because I didn't want to fall apart later. She listened to everything quietly, nodding, scribbling, occasionally raising an eyebrow when I glossed over something particularly brutal. Near the end of our first session, she said, "You're grieving a dream, not a man." She was right. I wasn't mourning Daniel. I was mourning the life I thought I had, the future we planned, the love I believed in. Grief doesn't always look like sobbing. Sometimes it looks like staring at your bedroom ceiling at midnight, wondering why you ever trusted someone so deeply. But recovery had its own rhythm. Morning runs, long showers, cooking just for myself, sleeping diagonally across the bed, silence that didn't hurt anymore. A strange freedom grew inside me, a freedom that whispered, "You survived, now live." In February, Adrian emailed me. Nothing dramatic, nothing romantic. Just, "I hope you're okay. If you ever want to talk to someone who understands, I'm here." No expectations. I replied, "Thank you. I'm healing. I hope you are too." He wrote back, "One day at a time." We didn't become lovers. We didn't jump into trauma-bonded intimacy. We became something better. Two survivors with mutual respect. Two people who had seen the worst and stepped out anyway. The next months were filled with decision-making. Real decisions. My decisions. I painted the bedroom walls a soft slate blue, bought new sheets, the expensive kind, rearranged the living room furniture, hung my art in the hallway. But the biggest change was internal. I felt myself returning. Not the Amelia who had been married to Daniel, the Amelia who existed before him, brighter, softer, hopeful. And a new version, too stronger, sharper, wiser, a woman who could save herself, a woman who would never ignore her own voice again. By spring, I had stopped checking my email for messages from him. I had stopped expecting closure, because I no longer needed it. Closure was something I gave myself. In late March, I found Daniel standing in my driveway. He looked older, tired, weathered. "Please," he said when I approached. "Just 5 minutes." I didn't invite him in. I didn't soften. He swallowed hard. "I ruined everything," he said. "I've lost you. I've lost myself. I don't know who I am anymore." I let the silence stretch. "Finally," I answered. "Then go find out." He looked up, eyes glassy. "You don't hate me?" "No," I said truthfully. "I don't hate you, but I don't want you, and that's worse for you, isn't it?" He flinched, and I walked back into my house. I didn't watch him leave. The chapter was closed. In the early days of summer, I sat on my porch, a book in hand and sunlight warming my bare feet. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Not the fragile peace that comes from pretending everything is fine, but the deep, steady peace of a life rebuilt with honesty. My story wasn't over, it was just beginning. And this time, I was the author. Not Daniel, not betrayal, not heartbreak, me and only me. If you like this story so far, press number 1 inch the comments. If you don't like it, just hit the like button anyway to support the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach more wonderful listeners like you. Thank you for being here. By midsummer, the rhythms of my life had settled into something strangely beautiful, something both familiar and entirely new. The mornings were quieter without Daniel's rushed footsteps or the sound of him shaving in the bathroom, but the silence no longer felt like a wound. It felt like space, space to breathe, space to think, space that belonged entirely to me. I spent those mornings running longer distances, letting the air burn in my lungs until my mind sharpened. Running had become my reset button, my daily reminder that my body once broken by grief was strong again. I could feel the difference in my bones. My feet struck the pavement with purpose. My breaths were no longer shallow with worry but steady, confident. My design agency grew faster than I expected. Word spread, referrals came, clients stayed. I hired a third designer, then a fourth. My office, a bright corner room in a renovated loft downtown, became a place I loved walking into every morning. The sunlight, the smell of coffee, the low hum of creation happening all around me. It was a life I had built with my own hands, free from the shadows of someone else's betrayal. Clara visited often, always checking on me, always insisting on bringing pie or flowers or something small just to brighten the house. Even though the house was already bright lighter now, that emotional darkness had been cleared from its corners. Sometimes she stayed late, sharing wine and laughter while the cicadas sang outside. She never said it directly, but I knew she was proud of me. Proud of how I had rebuilt. Proud of how I had not let the worst thing that happened to me become the definition of who I was. One warm July evening, I sat in my art studio once Daniel's office working on a new abstract painting. Colors of deep red, gold, soft rose, and a thin line of brilliant white. Survival, strength, hope, and the faint glimmer of something tender returning. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. For a moment my stomach tightened, the reflex of someone who had once lived in fear of what truth might appear on a screen. But the message was simple. "Your story gave me courage. I left him. Thank you." No name. No details. Just that. I looked at the words for a long time, then set the phone down and dipped my brush into gold paint. My reflection in the window caught my eye. I didn't look like the woman who once clung to a collapsing marriage. I didn't look like the woman who cried in the hospital waiting room alone. I looked like someone who had walked through fire and come out carrying water for others. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time in a long time, I felt ready to see what else the world had to offer. Ready to open the next door without fear of what might be behind it. I wasn't healed completely. Healing is never a straight path, but I was whole enough to face tomorrow with steady hands and an open heart. And that was more than enough. It was late August when the past returned, not loudly, not with drama, but with the soft rumble of tires in my driveway. I was watering the small rose garden I'd planted in May when a silver sedan approached, slow, hesitant, like it already knew it didn't belong here. Daniel. I didn't move, not toward him, not away. Just stood there with the garden hose running over the grass, watching the man who once promised me forever step out of his car with the weight of someone who had discovered he wasn't the hero of his own story after all. He walked toward me, hands in his pockets, eyes downcast. "Amelia." His voice cracked a little. "You look good." I didn't smile. I didn't scowl. I simply said, "I know." He swallowed hard. "Can we talk?" I shut off the hose slowly. 5 minutes. That's all. He nodded, relief flooding his face, pathetic, really, how little it took to give him hope. We stood on the porch, the afternoon sun throwing long shadows across the railing. He kept glancing around as if the house itself might accuse him. "You've changed everything," he murmured. "No," I corrected gently. "I changed anything that belonged to you." He winced, like I had slapped him. "I'm not doing well," he admitted. I thought, maybe we could try again. Start fresh. I stared at him, stunned by the sheer arrogance of it. The man who shattered me now asking me to rebuild him. "No," I said softly. "We cannot." He blinked fast. "But Amelia, you and I, we had a life. We had a home. We loved each other." "No," I repeated, firmer. "I loved you. You loved the version of me who didn't know the truth." He opened his mouth, but I raised a hand. "I'm not angry anymore," I said. "And that's why I can finally say this clearly. You and I died long before Christmas Eve. Tonight was just the funeral." He exhaled shakily, and for a heartbeat, I saw the man I once knew, the one with gentle eyes and soft laughter. But that man had vanished a long time ago, replaced by someone who lied with ease and loved with convenience. "I miss you," he whispered. "I don't miss who I was with you," I replied. His breath hitched. That was the truth he had come to hear. That was the wound he had earned. Daniel nodded slowly, acceptance settling over him like dust. "I'm sorry," he said one last time. "I know," I replied, "but your sorry can't rewrite anything." He stepped back, eyes glossy, and walked toward his car without another word. I watched him drive away for the final time. And as his taillights disappeared, a soft breeze lifted my hair, and I felt something light, something easy settle in my chest. Closure, not loud, not dramatic, just real. I turned back toward my house, my life, and stepped inside. Did you enjoy this story? And where in the world are you listening from? Tell me your city or country in the comments. I always love seeing how far our little community reaches. On your screen, you'll see 2 more life stories I highly recommend. There are many more waiting for you on my channel, stories of resilience, betrayal, healing, and new beginnings. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another life story. I'll see you in the next video. With love and respect.